You say you haven't been the same since you had your little crash, but you might feel better if they gave you some cash. The more I think about it, old Billy was right. Let's kill all the lawyers, kill them tonight. You don't want to work, you want to live like a kid.
Well, you're looking rather skipper today.
Thank you very much.
That's skipper, not chipper.
Skipper, you're my first mate today.
Well, I would like to be Gilligan, but I'd rather be the millionaire. So
Oh,
I think that
millionaire.
and his wife. Hey guys, welcome to
Two Marks and one Mike.
or Two Marks, One Mike.
I'm
And
C. Mark.
I'm John Mark.
And today we're talking about boating under the influence. in
Yeah.
Beautiful Chattanooga, Tennessee, or any lake in Tennessee.
Yeah, we'll touch on a few things that what boats are required to be registered, the type of boats, and who may be required to have a boating certificate,
Right.
and then what is boating under the influence. I think that's the most important thing.
I mean,
So
this story came up because we had an incident involving someone that was driving a pontoon boat, and the Tennessee Wildlife Services pulled him over because he was not behind. You know, a pontoon boat travels what, 5 or 6 miles an hour,
Yeah,
maybe.
yeah.
It's like driving a
or
deck,
not, since you
or
have
not,
on your
exactly, you know, and
captain's
so
hat.
This guy was not behind the steering wheel. He was off to the side having a conversation with his wife and his friends, and because of that, he was pulled over, or pulled up to, because they felt like that was reckless.
Right. So whether you agree with that or not, and it's
I
hard to
know.
believe on a pontoon boat
I mean, that's reckless.
traveling at such a
Really?
slow speed, with you have one hand on the wheel, standing to the side. That's reckless. It's hard for me to believe, but nonetheless, the officials in their capacity believe that it was reasonable or probable cause to stop somebody for
That was
reckless
it.
boating.
Probable cause. You know, they had probable cause because they saw that, on the lake.
Now-
And the
now-
lake can be a very dangerous place because you're on the water. Alcohol is usually consumed when you're boating too. Sometimes not. Sometimes more likely than not you are. That's why I'm on the lake in the first place.
Now keep in mind, a pontoon boat is one of the type of vessels that's required to be registered.
Really? Yeah.
Anything that's really powered by motor, anything other than is powered by a human. So kayaks and those
right.
kind of things don't
Right.
need to be registered. But
Yeah.
if you've got a boat that's powered by a motor, it's going to have to
Right,
be registered.
right.
And then as far as the operator of the vehicle, if you were born after January 1st, 1989,
Yeah, 89,
you have to take
cut
the
off
boating
here. Yeah,
certificate
right,
course.
Right.
That does not mean that your kid can't operate the boat with you in it, as long as you can immediately take over the wheel.
Right.
Even if your child, you're teaching them how to operate
Yeah.
the boat, the child doesn't have to have the certificate, as long as you either qualify to not have a certificate
Right.
because you were born before January 1, 1989 and can take over the boat, or you yourself, if you're born after that date, you actually have a certificate to take over. So you can teach your children.
Right.
So, which is important if you're a boating family. Make certain your child knows how to operate. the
There's a
boat.
lot of similarities between DUI and BUI. For example, .08 is the legal limit
Correct.
for BUI, boating under the influence, and also DUI. They also use a breathalyzer
Correct.
on the lake also. You also, because you get a boating license, you consent to the breathalyzer or a
Correct.
blood test.
Correct.
And if you refuse to consent, then they can, take away your license.
Right.
Just like they can with the car. Now, there are differences, significant differences in DUI and BUI. For example, you can drink a beer and drive a boat. You
Correct.
cannot drink a beer and drive a car.
You're also not subject to a BUI if your boat is anchored or moored
Yeah,
and
right.
you're on your boat. You're not subject to one there. Whereas if you're in your vehicle and you're stopped on the shoulder of the road and you're intoxicated,
What about-
you still can be subject
Exactly.
to DUI.
Say you live in an apartment and you're actually in the apartment parking lot before you walk into the apartment and you're DUI, but you're sitting there and you're about to go in. Law enforcement can arrest you for being DUI, right?
Correct.
Okay, correct.
And take that same scenario, if you have your pontoon boat pulled up to your dock outside your
Right.
house and you're tied up and you're not operating the
Right.
vessel but you're on it, you cannot be charged with BUI.
Right. And why is that, you think? I mean, why do you think these are exceptions carved out for boats and not vehicles on the road?
I think one of the main reasons is that what we know, people who have boats, some of these boats are sleep aboard boats.
Right.
People can can stop overnight. You know,
And
they
that's-
cannot be operating
That
the
goes
vehicle.
back to the anchoring, in the area,
Correct.
having a little party with all the boats around. As long as you're not operating the boat, over the legal limit 0.08, you can drink all you want to, as long
Correct.
as you keep it under the 0.08.
Whereas in your car,
No, you can't do
you
that.
can't.
You can't do
So-
that. And also on the boat too. It's nice to be on the boat. You're able to drive and drink at the same time. But obviously in a car you can't do that. And,
Correct.
And probably the reason for that maybe is that maybe you're on the lake and you have greater visibility and maybe you can react better. But
Well, your
still,
your lanes are
Yeah.
your lanes are bigger. You
You're
have a
right.
channel.
Right.
Your channel is much wider.
Right.
It may be easier, at least in the daytime, to avoid collisions. Boats typically don't travel as fast as cars
Sure,
unless
sure.
you're in some speed boats. But if you're cruising at 5 to 7 knots
Right.
versus 50 to 70 miles per hour, there's a huge difference.
Point being that you should not be drinking on the road blowing up 0.08, and you should not be drinking on the lake blowing up 0.08. It's not safe for you or anybody else around you. So please
That's-
watch yourself. Don't drink and drive.
And-
Don't boat and drive.
Exactly. At this time of year, obviously there's more boating traffic on the lake than in the cold months, and people are going to be drinking beer. They're going to be skiing. They're going to be
Right.
doing those sort of things. You just need to be careful and just realize that you're subject to the same blood alcohol
Right.
level as a presumption of whether you're intoxicated or not, and keep it under the limit, guys. Keep
Right.
it under the limit.
And on the lake also, with the sun and the movement of the ocean of the lake, it might affect you more. Alcohol might have a greater effect upon you than if you were just on dry land.
That's correct. I mean, in the heat of the day, you can become dehydrated much easier. You're out in the sun. Alcohol is a diuretic anyway. That's going to help not dry you out in the drunk
Yeah,
sense,
right.
but dehydrate
Right,
you.
exactly,
And so
exactly.
you need to stay hydrated. That will also help keep the blood alcohol level down, because obviously you're going to be subject in the heat to the alcohol having a bigger impact on your blood alcohol content than if you're at home in the air conditioning.
This has been C. Mark, the skipper, with my first mate.
Or millionaire.
Millionaire.
I'd like to be that.
Right.
Or maybe I could be the professor.
This
How about
is-
the professor?
Yes. Now, of all the characters on Gilligan's Island, you're most like the professor, and I'm more like Gilligan. This has been 2 Marks, and
One mic, or 2 marks, 1 mic.
we'll see you next time.
Thank you, guys.
Get